What's up, hoe cakes? Welcome back to another episode of Bacon and Bacon with Bacon. Today we're making the most American shit you could ever fucking make. Homemade apple pie. We're gonna dive right the fuck into making the flakiest, dankiest, bestest, everest crust. And then I'll show you how to make my apple pie insides, my filling. And we're gonna whip this shit up. All right, let's get started. So I'm not gonna muscle through this and do this the hard way. I'm gonna do it with ye old KitchenAid food processor and make my life a lot easier. I mean, I'm a fucking stoner. I don't wanna do things the hard way. I wanna do them the easy way. So we're gonna start by adding this 1.5 cups of flour to the food processor. And then we're also gonna add a tablespoon of sugar and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. We're gonna lid this here up and we're gonna pulse it a few times just to mix this up. It's pretty mixed up. Now we're gonna add the fucking butter to this and we're gonna pulse it again. All right, so I pre-chopped this butter up. It's 2 sticks, 1 cup. I pre-chopped this shit up and put it in the freezer for a little bit. Because this works so much better when the butter's really fucking cold, like really fucking cold. In fact, any written recipe for pie crust that doesn't say, and I quote, really fucking cold, is probably not the best pie crust recipe you could be making. Just saying. So I think the cold helps it flake. Fuck, dude, I'm not gonna act like I know. I just know. All right, there you go. 1 full cup of not frozen, but really fucking cold cubed butter in the 1.5 cups of flour. We're fitting to chunk this shit or pulse this shit until it starts kind of slowly becoming a dough. And then we're gonna add the rest of the flour and move on with that shit. Time to pulse. It's all minced up now. It's perfect. It's fucking perfect. That's why we use cold butter right fucking there. Because it chops it up like it's not a meltable thing. All right, we added our last cup of flour and we're gonna continue to mix this up. Just gonna sit here and pulse this bitch until we break this bitch. Starting to, like, if you squeeze it, it turns somewhat into dough. Wait till we add that fucking water. Then it's gonna be like Tit City. Well, the bulk of the hard stuff is done. We didn't have to use a fork or a fucking pastry cutter to cut butter into flour. We did it with our KitchenAid food processor. Now we're gonna pour this shit in a bowl and add some water. All right, now it's time to add this flour to this bowl. The flour to the bowl. I'm just gonna hold that blade. And look at that, no stuck butter. And we have really finely mixed butter into this bowl. Now we're gonna add 4 tablespoons of water. What I've got here is a bowl full of ice that just happens to have water in it as well. So we're gonna do 4 tablespoons. 1, 2. There you go, there's your 4. And we're gonna kind of press this into the dough. Gonna start clumping up. When you squeeze it and it wants to clump but doesn't quite, you need like just a tiny bit more. I'm gonna give it 2 more tablespoons. Gotta fucking drop that on them dry bits, and that should be sufficient. So we're gonna mix this the rest of the way in here. But you got mostly fucking butter and flour in this bitch. It's gonna turn into a dough here any second. See, now that is how it should clump together when you squeeze it. So now we're just gonna work this into a fucking ball with our hands. You can see this really starting to take form now. We're working with dough now. And there you have a dough ball. So we're gonna split this in half, and then we're gonna like mold it with our hands and turn it into 2 separate discs. And then we're gonna wrap those discs in saran wrap and put them in the refrigerator for an hour. It needs at least an hour to set. Now that we have our dough made, let's split this bitch into 2 pieces and make some hockey pucks and wrap them in plastic. All right, don't do this at home, but I'm lazy, so I'm just gonna cut this ball in half while it's still in the bowl. Boom. Safe and secure. Look at the quality of that. That's pretty good just for like throwing some couple tablespoons of water in a bowl with flour and food processed fucking butter. That's a wad of fucking butter and flour and a tiny bit of sugar. We're gonna turn this into a handsome little coffee puck. And you can tell that the butter is starting to like defrost, so to speak. It's starting to get warmed up. You can tell by the way it feels. So that's 1 hockey puck. That's all you gotta do is just make it like a patty, you know, squash it out to a disc. Okay, and then I didn't use saran wraps. I'm using these fucking plastic bags because it's the same thing, and fuck yourself. I don't feel like struggling with saran wrap right now. Yep. Boom. We're gonna put that in the refrigerator. We're gonna do that one more time with this, and then we're gonna put it in the refrigerator and we're gonna wait an hour. All right, what we got here is, we got a bowl full of peeled apples. So we're just gonna start cutting down the core. See, I like to use inconsistency with my pieces because I want some that's like fully broken down and no longer like a piece of apple. And then I also want some that are, it adds texture to each bite when you have like a bigger, more firm chunk of apple along with a like saucy, smooth, like almost apple sauce. Them is the apples we's gonna use. And we're gonna get these bitches going in a pan with some brown sugar and some butter. I also toss it in lemon juice and so like maybe a tablespoon of granulated sugar, and then I let it sit for 5 minutes. It helps draw the moisture out so you don't end up with fucking soggy crust. Over medium heat, you add butter, you add water. I'm trying this water, sugar, brown sugar, vanilla, cinnamon. We stir and mix together. All right, you wait until this liquid starts bubbling. Once you got it all evenly melted and it starts bubbling, that is when you put these apples in. Just even layer over the whole fucking thing and let it just cook, because we're gonna put a lid on it and let it cook for a minute. And now every couple minutes, I'm just going in here and stirring it. Gosh, it smells amazing. You just wanna keep it continuously moving because you wanna try to cook as many of these apples as evenly as possible. But that is starting to smell and look incredible. Wait till I add the goodies to thicken this up. It's gonna be so good. And now we're gonna add 2 tablespoons of cornstarch as the thickening agent. So we're gonna stir this up and make like a little slurry. And then we're gonna pour that in to that. And it's gonna help thicken that shit up and make it gelatinous and like perfect. Now this is gonna go in here. And we have to keep stirring it so it can evenly distribute. Now you can really see it starting to thicken up. All right, you little hoe cakes, it's been an hour. So now it's just a matter of rolling this out evenly and making a nice thin bottom crust. And then you want to check. With your pan that you plan on using, and you want at least an inch, if not 2 inches on the edge. So we're gonna roll this out just a little bit more. Yes, that will work. Now it's quite simple. You just cut like a 1 to 2 inch border around this bad boy. All right, and there you have it. That crust is set perfectly for this pan. And if you have extra left over, get that smushed back up into a bowl and set it to the side, because if we have enough filling left over, we may very well be able to make another like smaller pie. So now that we've got this crust in here and lined out in perfect size, we are going to put it in the pan we're using. Now I say give yourself extra because a lot of the times I like to fold the top of the pie over with this, but we'll make it all work. Now we're gonna make the top and just get it ready to drape over the apple pie. Second, hockey puck. That ought to be good. And here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna set this off to the side, and we're gonna make this motherfucking pie. What do you say? Hoo-ha. It looks about proper. So I'm just grabbing it and tucking it in with the other crust that was there. And I'm gonna come back around and press it all down. For now, we're just tucking it underneath the bottom layer, the bottom crust's edge. And that kind of helps form like a seal so that you don't lose too much of your apple innards, your filling. Because it will bubble, bitches. It will bubble and make a fucking mess. All right, so the only other thing to do now is create a breathing holes. I just like to do simple little holes like that. And then we're going to put it in the oven at 425, and we'll do that for 15 minutes to get the crust set. And then we'll drop it down to 350 and cook it another 30 to 35 minutes. Oh my gosh, look at that. It looks so fucking tasty. All right, so we are pretty much just chilling. Shit's in the oven and we're just hanging. Now we just fucking chill for like so many minutes, like 40 minutes total. Oh. Look at that. Oh my gosh, this is the only shitty thing about baking apple pie, is that we had to let it had to cook for like 40 minutes, or bake for like 40 minutes, And now we have to fucking sit here and let it cool for just as long. Fucking torture. But this is homemade apple pie. All right, my little hoe cakes. It has been so fucking. I've been wait. I made dinner. I fed my dogs. I watched some television with my wife, and the shit's still pretty fucking hot underneath. So it takes like hours to cool down. But we're gonna try this shit. It's cool enough, I think. Now I even changed out of my contact lenses. Took that long. I might go to bed in like 10 fucking minutes. Anyway, so we're gonna cut into this pie.